So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Hema with Eiffel International. I founded this company exactly 20 years ago, and have met some wonderful people like Ruben who keep me on my toes, keep me honest and candid with my thought leadership. Um, I'm also known as the AI translator. My book's coming out very, very soon. And Ruben, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, Ruben Gonzalez. Thank you. I have been in the mailing and fulfillment industry for coming up on 40 years, 10 years at a company called Town Advertisers and 30 years at the Dot. I'm also part of High School Inc. in Santa Ana, mentoring kids in the Global Business Academy. And this logo we have here, Mentorship, is another organization that we're on the ground floor of creating to provide part-time work for high school kids and focused on skill training.
Awesome. Awesome. So when you reached out to me a few weeks ago, Ruben, you were asked to do a presentation. And then we had this really back and forth and phone calls and emails and you were all excited because you were going to present. What was that presentation all about? I mean,
Uh,
like what sparked that? What sparked the people who were organizing that event to get you to speak?
we want to talk about reimagining mail for the next generation. And I think part of it had to do with my time in the industry. I'm on the Postal Council in Santa Ana and on the National Postal Council, and maybe the work I do with young people, and that there was something there that I could share. And I was really excited about that topic. As we got closer, they started asking me to put together basically a data presentation. They wanted me to show them numbers, response rate, delivery metrics, down to ink coverage, ROI comparisons, and then give the kids these charts to read, a data presentation to Gen Z, a generation that decides in 3 seconds whether something deserves their attention, the generation that can smell corporate a mile away, the generation that is never once in their lifetime sat down and thought, you know what I need to do next? Right now, a slide deck full of industry statistics. Um, and we weren't on the same page, right? And so they canceled it.
They
And I was a little
canceled
bit
it.
upset at first. They canceled it. I was a little bit upset at first. They said, you know, our people want data. They want data. They want data. They want data. And the data was for existing mail service providers or existing marketers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that, why I think they wanted to do the overwhelming data, but it wasn't focused on this conversation. This topic is how do we educate this next generation,
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit. So, in your mind, Ruben, when you say this next generation, what do you're talking about Gen Z?
millennials, Gen Z, that's correct.
Okay. I mean, we're both, let's cut, truth moment here. I think we're both Gen Xers, right, Ruben?
Yes,
Okay. So I've got
I
kids,
drank those water.
you've got kids, I've got kids. We have millennials and Gen Zs and that we're raising. They do think differently. Is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, for example, my son, when he got his first bank statement, um, I was watching him. I think it was the first piece of mail that he actually received that wasn't like a holiday card or birthday card. And he read every single page, right? All the disclaimers, and he just spent time with it. And I was amazed because never in my life have I read I just look at what's my balance and what do I owe, right? Kind
Right.
of thing when it came to that kind of, and it was a moment for him to do that. And he's a millennial, so he's not native. It wasn't native to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
The digital
In my
technology.
home too, my kids are saying and doing different things that once upon a time my dad would probably smack me on my head. They have different language slangs that are coming out and that are impacting some of the work that I do with digital marketing, like bruh and sus and unk. I mean, that was another word that I just learned recently is unk, which means I think you're old. It was directed towards me. But I was really intrigued that you went bold with a statement on LinkedIn and you said the old guard. So I wanted to really challenge you to describe what that means. We've just described we have kids and a consumer market that are Gen Zs and millennials. But when you talk about the old guard, what do you mean by that?
Mail service providers, printers, agencies, um, people in the United States Postal Service, those of us who have put time in and, it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years. I think
Got
they're
it.
the old guard. And what we're protecting is sales, printing, mailing, sales. And there was a time, I think we're jumping a little bit ahead here, but I'm grateful that we're being challenged here. Hema and I made a decision not to have a PowerPoint presentation, to have a conversation, and that this conversation needs to be had more and more often, and that we keep refining this. I lost my point there with the PowerPoints. What was your question?
Well, I think I really want to understand when you posted and you had almost like probably a knee. I don't know whether it was a rejection to the canceled presentation, but I want you to explain to us what do you mean by the old guard?
Yeah, so yeah, thank you again. Yeah, it was kind of a shocking statement that we just want to see data, right? And that's exactly why we're losing. We've got this attention economy, and providing more data, more proof, more charts, and dumping on these kids and hoping that something sticks is not the answer. It has to do with training. And I wasn't being asked to have a conversation with the next gen. I was being asked to empower and provide data to this older generation, which I'm a part of, right? So that I could sell more print and more mail instead of partnering with this next generation. So there was a knee-jerk reaction and saying, why why is there such resistance to having this conversation, right? And I think it's important that we do share some numbers, right, with the people that are online a little bit, and that we don't do that. But before I dive into the data, I want to talk about what's facing us every single day, right? Why I have this pushback is think about your own inbox this morning, right? How many marketing emails did you delete without opening them? How many digital ads do you scroll past without registering the brand? We haven't lost our ability to pay attention. We just drowning in this digital noise. When we were talking earlier today, I was telling you that I have Outlook and I have Gmail. Outlook, it's a little bit harder for me to delete the marketing mail that comes in.
Why is
But with
that?
Gmail,
Why is
what's
it
that?
difficult? Why is it difficult?
Because you have to kind of click each one. Like you still have to manually click each one. I can still preview it,
Yeah.
but I still have to manually click each one. Where in Gmail and a lot of I don't know the other mail servers with AI, it's doing a wonderful job of sorting my emails for me. So there's a spam folder which I rarely look at it unless somebody says go check your spam folder because they might have sent something,
Mhm.
which is amazing to me when I do look in there is how many emails coming from like reputable sources um, are in my junk mail, right? Where I'm missing articles because somehow they've been spammed. And then it separates my social and it separates the promotional, the marketing. And now when I go in Gmail to the promotional tab, I click one button, it highlights it all and deletes it. So now I'm deleting 200 messages in one click,
Oh
right?
my
It
God.
has no tension to, right? And so whoever spent all that time and energy, the ones that actually put time and energy into creating that message, I don't even get to see it. And then AI is actually taking over part of that. So um, I hope that answers that. So we're drowning in this digital noise. So the old guard in direct mail and printing is still busy printing and mailing what I like to call junk, because there was junk mail. And our mailboxes were bombarded with it back in the 90s, 2000s. Um, I had a picture, an image that I was going to show of a my doorstep that I took many years ago, where my mailbox is literally overflowing with direct mail, and my front porch was covered with flyers and menus and solicitations, right? Um, that's what we were doing then. Um,
So you
Now,
I'm gonna ask you this question now. Did I just hear you say that the old guard that you were referencing earlier is currently printing junk mail? I think I heard you say that.
I think if your mail is not targeted, and it's just there's a difference between advertising and marketing, right? And one-to-one communication, and that's what we need to educate that. Yeah, we still call it junk mail. I know they
Well,
don't
well,
like to use that. I know
let's
that fast food doesn't like to be called fast food. They want to be called quick service restaurants, right?
right, right.
But
Okay. So then you also talked about something about attention economy. Are we printing junk and not getting the attention? Is that what you're saying? That the attention spans of consumers have just vanished? They've come down. I mean, in the digital marketing world, it's under 3 seconds now, right?
yeah,
So is that what you mean by junk mail? It's just not resonating with people,
well, the digital and the physical, yeah, I think they're both junk.
right?
If it's not relevant, if you're selling um, on the digital side, I told somebody one time I don't like chocolate. I like chocolate for chocolate, but I don't like chocolate ice cream. I don't like chocolate cake, right? Baked. And they were like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "That's just a preference of mine." And then for 3 days, I was getting ads to buy chocolate ice cream or buy chocolate cake and coupons. And so it was like they were targeting the wrong person,
Got it.
right? And so whether you're doing digitally or analog, you have to do it to the right person, right? The message has to be correct.
So
Um,
can I coin that as we need to build a currency based on interest as a starting point, and we're not doing that because either we've outsourced our thinking to old school ways of doing things, or we as humans or as creators, I should say, and we've got some creators in the room here. Our job now has gotten a lot harder in terms of building the currency of interest, right? It correlates back to both digital and physical mail, correct?
correct.
So attention, interest, and then ultimately the magic happens when there's only trust. So junk mail does not equal trust. It does not equal interest. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Ruben, but this excites me. This conversation.
Yeah, this is
Yeah,
why we're having a conversation, not a
yeah,
presentation.
right. Please carry on with this old guard.
Yeah, I mean, we flooded the market at one point, and then digital came along, right? So mail didn't suddenly become a magic bullet. We're having this conversation. It's that the competition around us got so noisy that mail has started standing out again simply because it's physical, and it's one of the last uncluttered channels that are out there because everything else is so flooded, right? And you mentioned that people spend about 1.8 seconds on digital ads, but with the piece direct mail, the average is about 132 seconds of attention when they actually open and look at it, besides just like throwing it away, right? Um, why? Because it's the one channel you just can't swipe past. You
Mm,
just can't click one thing unless you're grabbing all your mail and dumping it, right? But you still have to sort through it to make sure you're not dumping something that you actually need. AI is not going to help us with that. We're still going to have to do that. So it sits on our counter. We look at it, and it's a time and attention you literally can't buy on a screen,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um, there's also this massive misconception that the younger generations are anti-male and only want digital. And I think the data says it's the exact opposite, right? Even millennials are into it with 70% preferring physical mail over online ads. They aren't rejecting physical mail, they're rejecting anything that feels generic, that feels pushy or fake. In an age of deep fakes and AI generated everything, intentionality is the new luxury. So when a well-designed piece of mail arrives, it feels real, right? It makes you feel special. You're connected with the brand. The generation that grew up entirely digital is actually craving the analog because physical mail builds one thing digital has destroyed, and that's trust.
Okay,
Even recently, I
I'm
asked
gonna
you
actually
a
have to
question.
agree with you on this, Ruben. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
I
to
asked you a
agree.
question recently with it,
Yeah.
and this is it's funny because I've heard people like some of my coworkers refer to their AI as their boyfriend or their girlfriend, right? And they built this relationship with AI where they like it only has my best interest at heart, right? It only thinks about me and what I need and what I really want. And so it's only going to give me the answers that benefit me the most. And then they started paying paid advertisers, right? And I think it was funny in the Super Bowl, they leaned, I forget who it was, but they had four ads, where the guy sitting down on the couch talking to his therapist, and all of a sudden, starts talking about the GILF website, right? It's like, and where did this come from? That trust factor has now been challenged,
Yeah.
and I think eroded and corrupting in some senses when they're being paid to do that. There's people jumping in with questions, and we're happy to answer them as we go through. But
I'll call them
yeah,
out just at the end of the segment, Ruben, because I want to interject here with the fact that as I do, I mean, a lot of people don't know me, but I'm a hybrid marketer, but I'm also very technical, right? And very much on data. And I build
you haven't
websites.
jumped on the bandwagon. Let me put that about Hema is not jumping on the bandwagon with AI. You've been involved with AI for your entire career
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and developing this.
And I see it all. Like right now, north of 90% of content generated on the, social media, for example, are all generated by AI. So it sounds grand, like people can just produce content, but that trust currency has dropped tremendously, right? And then the other thing is that when I do my SEO work with AI, I'm also seeing that 51 it's probably at about 51 to 55% of my data are bots coming to websites. And then the other thing that I tell people now that makes them go, oh my goodness, is we have a new social media platform now called Moltbook. It grew so fast early this year in the first quarter. No humans are allowed on it. It's only AI agents. And Mark Zuckerberg from Meta has recently acquired this company. And we're slowly moving into, I shouldn't use the word slow because I think we're in unprecedented speed of change with this AI revolution, where we're moving to agent type of marketing models, right? Um, so I think it's really important to come back to the team human and team AI. So team human and what builds that currency of interest and trust. So I think that's what you're trying to say here as well, Ruben. But we have a question from Eric Johnson. What's the source for the stat that 70% of millennials prefer physical mail over online ads?
That's from the American Marketing Association, the United States Postal Service. Um, yeah, and a lot of our stats. That's the other thing. The issue with when they wanted me to do a presentation, which is stats, is I can do a quick search and get stats. Um, so to just present what somebody could find anyways didn't sit very comfortable with me. And I am quoting him just so it's base context. But yeah, thank you, Eric, for asking. And Eric and his dad have been in the mailing business for a long time. So yeah.
Eric says thank you.
Uh,
Well, I think I want to move on to this
yeah.
this framing of building attention, interest, and trust, Ruben. I mean, let's talk about this. Is direct mail dead?
No. So let's be clear about that, right? Because again, people think direct mail, they're thinking about the 2008, the batch and blast campaigns that used to go on, and some of it's changed. The United States Postal Service has done a great job with a lot of incentive programs. But we're reimagining mail for the next generation, right? We're turning physical mail into smart, data-driven, AI-powered channel
Mhm.
that belongs in the modern marketing mix.
Right.
Um, today's mail is automated, right? Just as like your digital stack is, a lot of what's out there. There is an AI-driven message that's helping with personalization, variable data, versioning at scale is amazing today. You know, where you can send out 100,000 mailers easily and no two are exactly the same. There's QR code tracking that ties directly back into your digital analytics. United States Postal Service has a great tool with informed delivery that allows you to place an ad in the emails that go out that when your mail is going to arrive on that day that there's an ad like AAA Westways magazine does a great job of that. And they have amazing statistics, especially AAA. They've spent John Silver there spent a lot of time and energy in tracking that. He's also done a white paper on what color ads and what size and kind of thing drives it more in there. Um, so there's a lot of this it's just turning physical mail into smarter, data-driven, AI-powered that belongs in the marketing mix, but we have to have that trust factor into it. Like if I started getting mailers all of a sudden about chocolate cake, again, it's not you're marketing the wrong person, right? Um, and a lot of today's mail is just almost as automated as your digital stack is, right? And again, that's what we're trying to, if we're trying to sell just doing automated email, which is kind of creepy at times, right? Um, it's just bad. So AI-driven message should be personalized, it should be data-driven, and it can be tracked. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we couldn't track the response rates, but with a lot of these tools that we have with the QR codes on there, um, and with the I just lost the word. There's just a lot of ways now of tracking mail and seeing that.
Well, I
So
think
the conversation shouldn't be digital versus mail, right?
well,
This is a
let's talk about that for a minute,
digital
Ruben.
plus mail.
I love that chocolate analogy because I would say something and my I feel like my phone listens to me, and then before you know it, I have all these ads coming at me or prompts coming at me on my social media feeds. And I think it's a signal, right? We're sending signals now, and AI is very much a machine that detects patterns. So you can't just go out there and say who you say you are. There needs to be a pattern, there needs to be an architecture, there needs to be signals that send between team human and team AI. And this whole idea of you and chocolate, I plant signals a lot with the SEO work that I do. And in the traditional SEO sense, those were keywords, right? How people
Right.
think, how people buy, how people are feeling, what emotions do they have. All of that has been accelerated now with AI tenfold. But the beauty of what I think I'm hearing you say is that if we can get the right signal to the human, to the Gen Zs or the millennials, through a method that is decluttered, then we have a eureka moment where we might have some interest. And you know what, Ruben, because of the work that AI is growing at the pace that it is, those signals could actually amplify what's going on with digital marketing. So the trick now is that how do we send those signals to Gen Zs and millennials in a decluttered way with less noise? And what I'm hearing you say is that direct mail could be a solution, but we still haven't answered the reason why no one has actually jumped on this and succeeded with it. And why is it not on the TV? Why is it not on our TV channels with an ad saying this is how you should be doing it, right? So is it because it's a hidden secret, or is it because no one's actually addressing the real core root of the problem, which is the creators? How do you create interesting content?
Yeah, it's funny because on the Postal Council, I've had issue with it. 30 years ago, the focus was on getting people into the room who were like producing the mail, right? The creators of the mail were not so important at the time. And I think today that's what we should 100% be focusing on is the people who are creating the mail and educating them when they're making that decision. How much of direct mail is going to be part of my marketing mix,
Yeah,
right? And how do I create the mail and how do I make it relevant and the most impactful, the most powerful, and having conversations with them around that. There's a couple things that brought up, and one of those is a story that you shared a while back because you're just always so open and transparent about how you had AI analyze you
yeah,
and your business. And I think it came back and said something, I'm going to paraphrase this. Hema, you really think well of yourself, but we don't hear anybody else talking about you as much as you talk about yourself, right?
right,
And
right.
I think you had an aha moment of that if we're just out there with this message that we're cheaper, we're faster, we're better, everybody loves me, but nobody else is talking about that message gets lost, right?
Yeah.
And then you had to reevaluate what kind of message you were putting out there about your brand and what you were doing, and that what the new version of SEO wants to see and hear is what your customers are talking about, how they benefit from working with you, right? What they've received from that. So
I
I
think I
think
think
that's it.
I think that you've hit something that I'm really passionate about, Ruben. I said for the longest time before pre-AI, technicians could game the system with keywords and backlinks and all of that. And I think what I love about the AI revolution right now is that it's truly a marketer's platform using technology, right? And technology also, there's a correlation here with direct mail because, for example, Google just updated the latest algorithm, Ruben, and it's called Google Discovery. A lot of people, you don't know that it's there, but it's there. On Androids, if you swipe to the right, you'll get all your news feeds. But those news feeds are curated based on what you're looking at, like on videos and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. So now it's they're creating and giving you images. So you have to optimize the images and the articles, the most recent articles that are relevant to what you like, to what your interest is. So I'm starting to see a pattern here with our conversation that the signals that we need to send Team Human to work with Team AI has to be a hybrid. And for the longest time, I've been thinking through this term, and I've mentioned it to you, Ruben, but I'm going to mention it here today, called Phygital. And Phygital meaning physical mail and digital marketing. And how do we actually combine two machines that work beautifully in terms of amplifying visibility, trust, validation? And I go back to this validation piece, which is so, so important. We need digital PR. We need humans to come live with their testimonials on videos so that you can connect the dots with DM and the QR code, Ruben. Don't you get a discount with that if you market it?
Yeah, it's one of the post office's discounts, and uh, some of their discounts are a couple, 2, 3%, some are 6%, some are up to 10%. And one of them is a QR code driving back, so analog driving to digital.
Yeah, so imagine pulling back that QR code to videos and now amplifying what's happening with Google Discovery, right? Because that is the platform that is working and it signals all the AI platforms crawl YouTube, for example. So,
It's funny. I have to say this because you talked about that. I took my notes from the first presentation I was going to do that
yeah,
had all the stats and the data on there, and I went to 4 different AI websites to have it kind of look at, fact check me, just analyze it. And all 4 of them said basically to this effect, if you're trying to talk to this next generation of marketers, you need to rely less on the data, right? Because what we're seeing here is a lot of AI slop. and they all use that. And I hadn't heard that term, and you said it's a term that's going around a lot. Four different AI agents, right?
Yeah.
Said, don't rely on AI slop, lean more into the conversation and the education part of this. And I think that's kind of what's lost with your question of why, this magic bullet or why we're not doing it. The next generation has never understood it. B, our industry is aging out. There's a lot of people that are aging out. We've not done a good job of replacing ourselves, of training the next. Locally, there used to be a male piece design analyst that was amazing, and whenever she spoke, 200 people would show up
Yeah.
because she could talk to you about everything you need to do. And if she didn't have the answer, she would get back to you within hours or a day, and she'd tell you, I'm going to look at this. It might take me 2 hours. It might take me a day, but I'm going to get, yes, Sarah Fintz, Eric remembers her, that she would get that, right? And as those people aged out and nobody replaced them, and just digital technology started happening, the people that replaced them that didn't have that experience would say this, like literally to this day, um, I don't have that answer, but if you go research it on the direct mail manual, which is like 10,000 pages long, you're going to find your answer. Great. I could have done that before I called you, but I need a little bit of help. And then I've actually asked an EDDM question, which is every door direct mail. I asked a question about sizing and I got five different answers from the same website, right? And I was more confused than when I started.
Right.
So it's understanding that we have a workforce that's aging out, retiring. The people that sort of were really relying on their expertise, the people that were our pioneers, and we've not trained the next generation. And then, there's people that are just concerned about massive mailers or selling digital. So the people that are selling digital weren't concerned, or had to say bad things about direct mail, like it's destroying the world, and if you love the planet, you won't do direct mail, which isn't
Right.
true. Um,
Hey,
anyway,
I'm getting the same kickback right now with AI, Ruben.
oh
I'm,
yeah,
you know,
how much energy it's taking.
how much energy, how it's building data centers in neighborhoods, and it's going to destroy the world. It's going to kill the next generation's thinking. Um, and I think what we need to do as a society is really go back to how to use AI ethically, but also how it's actually going to catapult. AI is able to give you predictive analysis, for example, Ruben, so to make your direct mail campaign so much better, right? And I think I got this, Ruben. I think we need to end the era of silos, right?
Hmm,
Where you're
absolutely.
thinking, and Ruben, you and I talk about this a lot, that I think we all need to partner up with our specialty because our critical thinking as team human is based on the expertise and the experiences of what we've been involved in. So we need to build that trust, like between the dot and Eiffel, we have a trust currency, right? So you trust me in everything AI and marketing, and I trust you with the execution of everything creative and direct mail. But I think what's happening right now is that we need to bridge that trust with humans who can't see the light and stop the siloed approach. I think partnerships are the future, don't you, Ruben?
Absolutely. So, I've been doing this for 40 years, so there's certain things that I am an expert at that I can look at it and within seconds, um, I can, it's an easy problem for me to solve. And there's other things that are just mind-boggling to me. And that's where we need these partnerships. I can't be all things to all people, right? I'm an executor. You provide me with the data, you provide me with the artwork. I'm going to make it happen, right? You're not going to have to talk to me and explain to me how to do my job when it comes to that. Because of my time, I have some knowledge about marketing, messaging, design. I can look at something and say that doesn't look very good.
Mhm.
You're going down the wrong path, but I am not the expert, right?
Right.
So
Right.
there's people like Bridget who's on the line, and Eric, who's on the line, they're experts at what they do, but we're all part of an ecosystem. It's this partnership and stop pretending that we can be all things to all people. That but together as a team, we can then approach the agencies who
Yeah.
need the education,
Right.
right? Where they've only been trained on digital for the most part. There's a lot of younger people that have never done direct mail.
Yeah.
They haven't taught about it. They don't know it's something to do. But you and I aren't the creatives,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're not going to be able the ones that can sit down with that customer and tell them like this is how this should look and this is how this should feel. Um, and
Right.
your message is off, right? And we were at a conversation recently where um, the speaker was asking you what do your customers think about you? What do they want to hear? Stop trying to sell them on what you think you want them to know and what the benefits are.
And this is being in the number one problem to crack between when I go in and restructure sales and marketing teams now, especially in this AI revolution, is that you cannot have the sales department blaming marketing and marketing department blaming sales. And the same analogy goes here between DM and digital. I think we need to stop blaming each other and come together. And you know what? I have been brewing this framework for a while, Ruben, and I've actually coined it and trademarked it called Signal2Phygital. So sending out signals that we amplify not only the human interest, but to build trust with digital AI algorithms as well. So Signal2Phygital, and I'll put it in the chat message for everyone to get a download of that framework. But I think that silo teams are going to be the ones that are going to get left behind,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I think that the sooner that mindset, let's go back to this reality. It's a mindset shift. A lot of people are very guarded. They're scared to lose their jobs. They're scared that they're not being heard. I think that the sooner humans can break away from that and have a growth mindset, right? I think that's going to be a huge game changer. So Jeff Cribbs actually has something here that he's put in the chat. I see the point of millennials preferring physical email and love the mention of video here. I know there are many surveys and facts that millennials are starving for hands-on communication and engagement beyond and inside the working environment. Will the type of mail marketing being produced change to fill the new generation's longing for physical touch and engagement? And how do you see that happening? So, Ruben, I think this goes back to the whole thing on partnering with creatives who understand these millennials, correct?
Yeah, they use the word
Yeah.
tactile marketing. And there's also an incentive program with the post office where if it has a touch, a feel to it, um, or a smell, right, along with the digital, and there's some inks that, back in the day there was a scratch and sniff, but there's other ones that have inks that are that last a lot longer. You don't have to scratch, you don't have to activate it. It's just there. And like a lot of some of the airlines and the hotels have specific scents
Yeah.
that are there. So, for example, if you were trying to do a resort, you want somebody to go to Hawaii, if you open it up and it smelt like flowers or it smelt like coconut oil, like suntan, whatever you associate with that, the ROI it's incremental, right? It just grows. And they do offer you discounts and rebates for that kind of. So it's that tactile marketing. Um, there was a credit card that I was sent recently, and I threw it away before I thought that I should have saved this because typically a credit card comes in a plain white envelope, right? And you open it up, you tear it out. This one came in a black envelope.
Mhm.
And it's not because I have a black card or, platinum card or whatever. It was just a credit card.
Right.
But when I opened it up, it slid out. So it said pull the tab, and on the left, the card revealed itself. It was like a reveal. And even though it's just a credit card, it made me feel like I was part of a special club, right? Understanding that that moment that we have that of engaging with somebody. So there's a couple of things that a few points I think that we need to talk about when it comes to this. There's awareness,
Hmm.
right? Male is the physical anchor to that. There's the validation that comes from digital retargeting. It reinforces the trust the male just built,
Yeah.
right? And then there's the conversion triggered when you're talking about the silos, right? The conversion is triggering that close when the intent is its highest, and whether that's another physical piece of mail or a digital conversation or a video post, it's again, there's smarter people. One of the things we talked about is there's probably people on this line or in this Zoom that are smarter than us when it comes to, but we're inviting them to come in and have this conversation, to keep having this. And then hopefully, the next time we have this conversation, we have somebody representing millennial or Gen Z and having them ask us these questions and keep building this. But yeah, it's a three-step process and breaking down that thing. So, the uncomfortable truth, the real crisis that's happening that we were selling for a lot of years, it's not just about the ROI, it's about education, right? Educating the next thing. So where do we go from here?
I just put my,
Yeah, we have to close.
well, not really. I'm going to put the link here, get the framework for Signal to Phygital. And this is something that is ongoing. I do a lot of research with AI and how to connect with humans because I understand AI and I want humans to be able to translate the data um, with AI efficiently. The truth is the noise level is very, very high, right, Ruben? So I think that there's a lot that can be done with direct mail. We have a lot of creators in the room here, but I'm giving away some free research that I've done, some guides on how to reset your marketing strategy and communication calendar with Signal2Phygital. I think that this is going to be an ongoing conversation, and I think, Ruben, that as we saw the humanoid walk the White House red carpet, I think it was last week. Melania Trump invited 45 first wives from around the world to attend a tech summit. And what happened next to her was Brigitte Macron from France. And then this humanoid that came out, introduced itself, and spoke and I think it said welcome or hello in 45 different languages. And the press conference that soon happened after that was about how the first lady Melania Trump talked about humanoids now becoming possible educators for our kids, right? So as we encroach into this humanoid world, agentic world, AI world, it's very intimidating because it's moving so fast. I didn't think I would
Yeah.
see something like this from the White House in the first quarter. We're only in the first quarter, right? Of what's happening with AI, and then you see the agentic AI social media platform where humans are not allowed on there. So I think I love that word reimagine that you've chosen, Ruben. I think what we need to really do is understand how we cater and curate our brands to build trust ultimately, but how do we create that attention to there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of things to create attention that erodes their
Yeah.
brand, right?
So yeah, it goes back to we had a conversation one time, um, and I know you've been in this for over 20 years with an AI and developing it and working with organizations, and I was talking about trust. So 10 years ago, QR codes today are they made a comeback. They're common. But like 10 years ago, people were like, use QR codes and pay me $100,000 and I'll design you a QR code, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
it's the next wave, right? And and then it was augmented reality and put this, pay me to build this app and you're going to get this 1,000% response on your mailer. If you, but you have to get this proprietary app, and that has now you don't have to have a proprietary app for QR codes. Your phone picks it up, right?
Right.
So it's like sometimes there's the mentality, I'm just going to wait it out until it becomes free or cheaper,
Yeah.
right? Or this is just a snake's oil salesperson and they've jumped on the latest bandwagon, and the latest bandwagon is AI. I went to a conference a couple of weeks ago in Vegas and I was overwhelmed with AI. Every booth said AI, 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 but they were using AI. It wasn't their primary service. This is a freight broker. This is a freight forwarder. This is an accounting software company. This one does HR. This one does, it's like it wasn't until you went back and actually talked to them that you could figure out what they were actually doing. It was lost with trying to sell you that we're cool because we're using AI.
Yeah.
And there's this massive gap that's going to keep growing and growing and growing where AI is helping us do our job easier, faster, better, automating some processes. But I still have to talk to you as a human and educate you and build that trust factor. And that was the thing we talked about, is that like your challenge was going to be not to seem like you're jumping on the AI bandwagon, that you are there as a trusted guide on
Yeah.
how to walk through the process, and that you don't have to do all the homework to do that. And I think we need to build that back in the mailing industry, is that we're here to help you navigate through this clutter of information. And again, if I was going to go to a young marketer and I walked in with some of like the mail piece incentive program that the post office has, is if you mail 1 million pieces, you're going to get a 10% rebate. If I went in and I talked to you when you were trying to promote your book here, hey, mail 1 million pieces and you're going to get a 10% rebate. Uh, you may never want to, you might not want to have 1 million customers.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
And it would be a waste of time. But there's other types of mail programs that it would be more beneficial to you. And if when I was sitting down and talking to you, I gave you the options and explained to you the benefits of using certain types of mail and the challenges of it. Like, yeah, you can do this, but you probably won't get that great of a response. That when we have that conversation, I build that trust with you. You're not having to worry about, I'm just trying to do what's going to benefit me the most, right? And that gap is going to keep growing bigger and bigger, and people are going to crave that authentic conversation.
And
Uh,
Ruben, in every boardroom, every management meeting that I step into these days, I think there is a misunderstanding of what AI is. It's seen as like a software update or a Microsoft 365 add-on. It's not. It's truly, I'm going to call it an AI revolution over and over again, because I see it at the same level as to when even Henry Ford created a car and everyone trusted the horse and not the car. And now we're living with cars and we can't live without a car. In fact, some of us need two cars. Um, uh, and I think that what is truly missing in all of this, that I boil it back down to, is that people are kicking off campaigns without strategy. And
hmm,
that strategy, like you say, how is this going to benefit you? What is the message that you really want to get out there? What's the interest currency that you want to build? And the hard question here is the strategy piece. And rethinking the strategy right now is, I'm doing a lot of workshops on this, Ruben, and people are gobsmacked when they see what AI can do as a thought partner. It really gives you a lot of lateral thinking. And so it's up to also the human, each one of us, to want this, right? To want to embrace this change, to let go a little bit and try to test drive AI in terms of what it can give back to us as ideas. But the finishing of that thinking, that critical thinking part of it, remains with the human, right? Um,
right.
and I think if executives and creatives can actually go back to that, that's talk strategy. let's talk strategy first and then deploy it. I think, and then use AI as the accelerator and the amplifier with Signal2Phygital, the signals being that DM is part of the signal architecture, right?
Yep.
And then if you amplify algorithms with signals from DM, you you're one of a kind. But you
Right.
got to make it interesting.
Yes, you got to make it relevant. Like Fletcher Jones did a mailing where on the mailing piece, what was on the cover was actually your car. It
Yeah,
was the year, make, model, color of your car, right? And then when you opened it up, it would acknowledge your anniversary or your birthday, whatever it was of the purchase or the lease, right? And it also knew that Hema likes Coffee Bean, Jill likes Starbucks, whatever the coffee shop. And so the offer or the coupon was for the coffee shop that you particularly liked,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And that the massive amount out there that it's going to help us do that one-to-one marketing, not that spray and pray blast. Now it has its place, right? If you're opening up a um, restaurant or a laundromat or a local service, that mailing saturating a zip code might be the best alternative. But there's also some very sophisticated programs out there that look at like um, your driving pattern,
yeah,
right? So rather than mailing to a zip code and saturating it, it would map out a radius. So like a corridor,
yeah,
and they would map out a specific corridor like around this street within like 3 or 4 blocks because they're more likely to come shopping here if they're driving down that street. So we want to try to map who's driving this thing, right? So
right.
there are instances where a generic mailer like that has its place, but there's other ones when you're trying to make an informed decision to purchase something or a service, right? That it's there, um, and AI is going to help us a lot with that.
Yes, I think so too. I see it. I see it in my everyday work, but we have 7 more minutes left, Ruben, but I think I want to do a bit of a recap. We started with your frustrations with the old guard, rightly and wrongly so. I think we're in an era where just like the people who loved horses didn't want to jump out of the car with Henry Ford. I think we're in that era right now where it's not the old guard's fault, right? They're in their comfort zones. And but we're pushing boundaries here. We're trying to disrupt the way people think. Um, I live in the space of AI and digital marketing and have done so for 20 years with my company. And I used to run DM campaigns when I was in corporate before this, before I started my company. It was expensive, Ruben. It was really,
Hmm.
really expensive. And you had to really justify it as a head of sales and marketing, right, to your boss. And so I think what I would like to encourage those of you who are on this call to probably think about how we can continue this conversation. I think Ruben, you and I would love to go into companies and see how we can help them, right? Rethink and reimagine their go-to-market strategy with Phygital, a Signal2Phygital, and as a framework, right? I haven't concluded what it's like for every single sector, but I think my conclusion from our conversation today, Ruben, is we need creators. We need
We
creators
need
to buy into
creators.
this, to give us interesting messaging, interesting pieces that can go out so that these millennials and these Gen Zs are going to fall in love with what they get and then build that trust and ultimately engagement to trigger commerce. Would that be a good summary?
Yes, it would be. And I was trying to, it just triggered me there. So we got to have them all in the conversation. There was
And while Ruben's looking for something there on his phone, if you've got any further questions, we got 5 minutes left, and we would love to answer them for you.
Yeah, send them our way. So I'll pull it up if anybody wants to challenge me with the source. But there is a company that they sell a very common product. It's a pin, right? A customized writing pin, and they have their like something like this, right? And they have their core market that they use that they sell that understands who they have. But buying a pin is a commodity today, right? You can find it all over the internet and all that. So they had their core business, people that buy with them. They do send out a catalog that's personalized, right? Um, and we happen to be part of that ecosystem, printing that catalog. Where on on the cover of the catalog there might be a pin that has your corporate name on it,
Mhm.
but it's not. It's generic. It just says like Eiffel, right?
Right.
Um, and they didn't want to compete against the a million plus pin sellers that are out there. And they said, oh, there's over 30 million businesses in the United States. We don't want to talk to our current customers. We want it, the old ones that don't know that we exist, that we're here. And they took a campaign. They had the resources to do it, but they decided to do a mailing to 30 million businesses. They had to get 500 designers involved to go through and design a physical pin with that company's logo on there and then produce that pin. They got to the point where they were doing 10,000 of these a day. They had over an 8% response rate on it. And there was like $250 million in business that was generated from this campaign. And they got it down to under $1 to produce and mail the pin along with postage. So it was a great ROI for them. And it went on for over a year. And yeah, so I got those numbers. So there's situations like that where if you looked at it, it's a very expensive proposition, but compared to what they were doing digitally online, it was well worth the money for them. So yes, it's the hybrid thing. Is most of us will never be able to afford to do a 30 million piece mailing like that,
Mhm.
but you might do it to the top 5 or 10% people that you know that would benefit, and then adapt it so that the other 90% get this type of mailer. And I'm seeing a lot of that happen more and more.
Well, this has been very insightful for me as well, Ruben. It's really feeding into a lot of the research, and I call it my lab, where I test drive quite a few different things, and as I watch different AI updates, the AI change notes that come across my desk are daily, right? Um,
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you to Joe for being here today, Joe Agnew. He thanked us both, very insightful and so true on the USPS trust issue. Um, I think we all are struggling to rise above the noise, and it's getting worse every hour,
Yeah.
every hour. But I think together as a community, we need to support one another. And I know I'm available to come in and speak more on this topic and to show data sets. I think you are too, Ruben. So um,
Yeah, let's do it.
let's
Let's
have this conversation again. I think we need to do this a
I think
lot
we need
more.
it again and want to challenge the people that are online right now that felt like we didn't ask the right questions or we didn't have all of the answers or that maybe you should have talked about this to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
Hema said we were debating. I don't feel like we were debating. I think we were having a very meaningful conversation. And then we want to continue it with you participating in that, understanding that we're just a part of the ecosystem. We're not the whole thing. And then we need to have this and you know, I don't know what the next level is to go into the schools or to the marketing events and make a presentation and see how that goes.
Hey, if we want to do another one of this, Ruben, I can share what happened when I went to an elementary school, and I created my digital twin, and the kids, these were fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, they were talking to my twin, her name's Emma, as if, they were having a board meeting. There was a kid there that wanted to start a business selling butterflies, monarch butterflies. And Emma was participating in this thought partnership with this 10-year-old, advising on how many caterpillars, price points. I think he landed at $10 a monarch butterfly. And it's these kinds of thoughts that we need to nurture because it's very doable in this age of AI, right?
Yeah.
Um, AI is AI was talking to the kid without judgment, without saying you need to do your time in school. It just went with the program and did a forecast. Like if you sold 100 butterflies a month, this is the size of farm you need to get the right caterpillars. And how do you
How to
set
scale it.
that farm up? Yeah. That's the sort of thing people go on Shark Tank to really talk about, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this 10-year-old could be a multimillionaire just by selling butterflies because AI,
yeah.
they didn't have that fear speaking with AI. So on that note, it's 12:01. Thank you everyone for joining us
Thank you,
today.
everybody. Thank you, Hema. I appreciate it.
Eric
And
Johnson, thank you. Yes, thank you, Eric, for
thank you,
being
Eric.
part of this. Yes.
Thank
All
you
right. I'll
guys.
talk
See
to you
ya.
soon.
Bye.
Appreciate it. Thanks.